So we wanted to talk to you today just a little bit about some of the changes that we're making this year, some new priorities. We had a great meeting yesterday with the GOC executive, and we spent a fair bit of time talking about the lack of attention ovarian cancer gets, as well as the lack of investment. And so some of the work that we've done this year is to try and address some of those issues. And I think there's lots of opportunities for GOC to be involved. So we do receive money from Roche and AstraZeneca, and won't be discussing any off-label use. So just a reminder to everyone, most of you know about ovarian cancer. We're the only charity out of the 250 cancer charities that is dedicated to ovarian cancer. And we do this, our mission is threefold. One is to provide support to women and their families who are diagnosed with the disease. We increase awareness in the public, and we used to do some work more with family physicians, and fund research. So in terms of support, to complement the work of GOC, we have staff across the country who take calls from women or caregivers. The calls are wide and varied, and sometimes we get answers, as we did from Jake today about a specific issue in London. But two of the things that we have that are new this year that I wanted to draw your attention to is we have two books. One of you may have you may have known the book as You're Not Alone. It was rebranded as By Your Side, and this is a book for women who are newly diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And it's available, and many of the nurses and the social workers and some of the physicians do hand that out, which we appreciate. As well, we have a new guide this year that I don't have a copy of because it should be in our office next week, and that's for recurrent ovarian cancer. It's been long in coming. We had a shorter version that Jan Giroux was involved with, and many others, I'm sure, way back. And so that's quite a thick book, and we've had extensive support from GOC members to make that happen this year. And again, we'd love you to share information about that. We also are involved in funding research. We're a very small organization with a limited budget, and so the strategy has been to build partnerships, such as with CIHR, to leverage our investment, and also to build capacity. So we do fund the tissue banks, the Corinne Boyer Chair in Ovarian Cancer, the Canadian Conference on Ovarian Cancer Research that's coming up soon. And we've built a new partnership with the Cancer Research Society, and what's great about that is they match our funding, so we're able to leverage the dollar even more. And my understanding is that when we had the call, they had the most grants that they'd ever had, or not grants, applications for to do ovarian cancer research. So to date for the organization, it's about $6 million that's been invested in research, and it's been estimated that that's led to about $3 million in additional funding for ovarian cancer research. But we know there's so much more to do for this disease, and I'll speak to how we're going to try to advance that. So another, not in research, but in capacity building, we continue to partner with GOC on our Bruce Galloway Travel Trainee Awards. And these came to us through Dr. Rosen, who spoke to our board about the need to, there was a bit of an HR crisis in Gynecology, and so we worked with GOC to develop these grants, and it's really to stimulate interest in this field. And to date, there's many, I was going to name everybody, and then I thought I'd leave someone out, but I know Dr. Altman was a recipient of that. And so to date, we've given out 32 grants, that's about 22 students, so some people got it more than once, and 14 of those continued that we know of in Gynecology, and that's about a $48,000 investment over those years, and we will continue to do that because we know it's such a great program. So a big part of what we do, or a lot of what we've done, is in the area of awareness, and we had September proclaimed September Awareness Month, and many of you will know that we have our walk at that time. We also have, in partnership with the U.S., Ovarian Cancer Organization, we have September 4th, which is Wear Teal Day, and I know many of you have participated in that because we've seen your pictures. And then this month, May 8th, is World Ovarian Cancer Day, which we are a key part of. But we know that there's so much more that needs to be done in awareness, and it is still a disease that people don't seem to have, or Canadians don't have on their radar. So this year we worked with Grey Canada, which is a leading advertising organization, and they helped us to think through how we could create a new campaign that would garner the attention of Canadians. And the campaign's objectives were really to disrupt a conversation and get ovarian cancer much more in the vernacular, or in a, if you're at a dinner party, which I'm not often, but people will say, you work where? With what? Oh, I didn't know there was a cancer of an ovary. And some of these are educated people, we're not just bringing in everybody, but it's not a disease that has garnered a lot of attention or investment, as I said before. So to begin the campaign, they did a survey of about 1,000 Canadians, and they saw that ovarian cancer, not shockingly, we knew it, but it was to validate this, that the awareness was quite low. In fact, only 9.5 were extremely familiar, and so there was more that needed to be done. And the misconceptions abounded, and so it was nice to follow Dr. Bentley's HPV conversation, because there's still a lot of misconceptions, which you may see, I don't know, but believing that the Pap test is a detection for ovarian cancer, that there's a reliable screening test. We hope we've done some work on that this year to get that out of the way, but that HPV vaccine prevents ovarian cancer. People get very confused between the cervix and the ovary, or 26 had no idea, and then 8% believed that none of this was true, and so we knew that there was a lot of work to turn this around. We also knew that ovarian cancer was not top of mind in terms of any concern for Canadians, and it ranked quite low, as did cervical. And so we started testing different ideas. And so in the marketing land, which I'm not part of, but the language they would use is you need an ownable, breakthrough, culturally powerful, and sticky idea. And that's something I talked about, disrupting the conversation, but that is an idea that will motivate people to do something different. And we had many, I think there were about 3 different concepts that were brought forward to our board, and one of them was around talking about motherhood and ovaries and what ovaries do. And it was a beautiful campaign, and we all were very moved by it, but it just made us feel a little bit sad, and then nobody really wanted to do anything differently. And that was tested, and that was found to be consistent across the board. There was one idea that was brought forward that was quite risque for our organization, but what was great about it was it actually made people want to find out more, and they wanted to do something. So whether that was to find out more information or to take action, which for us would be to help raise money for this disease. And so we chose that idea, and our campaign, Lady Balls, was conceived. Now, many of you may have heard of it, and I have this on many slides of love it or hate it. And I'm going to be clear, it's not been loved by everybody, and it's not been hated by everybody. But what I will tell you is that it definitely started a conversation across Canada. This organization, in its history of advocating or trying to raise awareness, had never seen anything like it, and it exceeded our wildest expectations of how far it went, from the national on CBC through to, we had print media everywhere. I was on the back of the Globe and Mail. So we really were able to leverage this and get Canadians talking about this disease. Our campaign impact, as I spoke about, we had about $12 million donated from media. We have a spectacular person that was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, was a leader in this area and worked with us. And she begged and borrowed a lot of favors, but that resulted in 60 million earned media impressions, which I understand from folks that work in this area is extraordinary. We had about 118% increase in requests for information or support. We had a lot of women who'd never heard of us, who'd been diagnosed, that came out of the woodwork. We had an individual donation of $100,000, and that's just the one person. There's been many more donations that have come in. And we had extraordinary social media growth. So in our estimation, early stages, because it was just launched before, sort of right after the holidays in December, the conversation is certainly changing. But we know that, there's still more to be done, and what we're trying to do is leverage the awareness that we're creating in Canadians, and that moving this disease a bit more top of mind. We're turning our attention now to decision makers or elected representatives. We know, and all of you in the room know, that this is a disease, as I said before, that's low in priority. We talked yesterday about how when there's treatment funding decisions, that sometimes, it's not funded, Avastin isn't funded in one province and it is somewhere else. And we know that it needs this investment in research. And what we heard from our community is that they're really tired of being, it's not the right word, I couldn't think of it, but the poor cousin in cancer, and the disease that nobody really seems to care about, yet the burden and the mortality rate is so significant, and the outcomes haven't changed significantly, and we don't have, I've done 2 PCODR, no, I did 3 because I did cervical, but we've done 3 PCODR submissions, 1 to an S, and I know I have colleagues that work in breast and prostate and colorectal, and they've got many more options. And so our community was really tired, and they want to start to champion this disease in a different kind of way. So we are launching, or we've launched, our government relations campaign, and we're going to be going to the federal and provincial government to advocate for 4 main areas. One is we're asking for more investment in ovarian cancer research. We're asking for funding for new treatments. We're asking for improved access to BRCA genetic testing, and we're pushing for genetic discrimination legislation. We've tried we've not tried, we are aligning with the work of GOC because that's in our best interest, as it is in, I think, Canadians' best interest that we're all working together. And so, and in that, you'll see for our federal asks, it's based on the research and the genetic discrimination legislation, which passed the Senate recently, so it's moved to the House of Commons, and the treatments and the BRCA testing would be at a provincial level. And how we're going to do that work is, the first part is we've trained our volunteers. So these are primarily women or family members who have been affected by ovarian cancer, and they are going out to their local elected MPP, MLA, or MP, and they're meeting with them and talking about their stories, raising awareness of the disease, starting with the "Have you ever heard of ovarian cancer?" and then letting those folks know what they can do. I was talking to my colleague before, Kaylee, who's with me, and be careful what you wish for. We actually have been very successful with this, which I don't think we were quite as prepared for. And so a lot of the MPPs and MLAs are very excited. They want to hold roundtables on the disease. Somebody wants to put a petition in the legislature about funding treatment. And we have another MP who wants to help raise money for research. Now, this work takes a very long time, but it was really promising because I don't think we expected that. On Tuesday, we're going to Parliament Hill. We have a federal lobby day, and I think were checking our emails because we're getting all our meetings right now set up or finalized, but we did not have any trouble getting meetings, which was great. And so we have volunteers, members of our board, and staff going, and we'll be having meetings with MPs. It's very common in a lot of charities to do this, where you go and advocate for particular issues. And so it's a full day of meetings. And then I believe we're meeting with the Minister of Health, and they say, I think the group we're working with say Justin Trudeau could be around, but I don't know if that's the case. But please check our social media, because if he is, you'll see it on there. And in terms of ongoing community engagement, so the picture you have there is a postcard that we've had produced, and that can be sent to the elected reps as well. And it says, "I have the blank to do something, do you?" And that's where they can fill in, I have the lady balls if they want, or I have the tenacity, or I have the drive. And those will be mailed. We're launching that around World Ovarian Cancer Day, but those have a lifespan that can move into September awareness and keep this alive. We also have templated letters online that people can send to their reps as well. And then our staff and board and others will be meeting, and I was talking with the executive yesterday about when we could bring members of GOC in. We'll be meeting with decision makers, for example, in Ontario, talking about new treatments and getting them funded, and moving to BC and doing that, and trying and drive this forward. And I think that was about it. So I just wanted to say, though, we really value the partnership with GOC. We had a great meeting yesterday, and trying to align our priorities together. And Dr. Elliott is on our board, and so we try to make sure that there's leverage points across both organizations to move both of our collective interests in moving this disease forward.